Today, we are taking on the cult of busy, that badge of honor we all wear that is actually just hiding our shadow work. We are going to look at why rest is the ultimate rebellion, how to stop borrowing someone else's definition of success, and we'll share a bit of our origin story so you get to know us. Joining me in the studio today to help unpack that are event planner and law of attraction expert Callie, along with project manager and spiritually led adventurer Michele. If you are ready to break up with the busyness and want the exact tools I use to protect my energy, the Soul Alignment Collective is coming. Get on the wait list using the link in the show notes. Now let's get into it. Welcome to Soul Signals. I'm your host, Melissa Kincaid, Evidential Psychic Medium, joined by my co-hosts Callie and Michele. No fluff, no filters, just real conversations about intuition, grief, and finally becoming who you're meant to be. Well, welcome everyone to Soul Signals podcast. I am your host, Evidential Medium Melissa Kincaid, and I am joined with my co-hosts Callie and Michele. And we are here today and every day, well, not every day, every week in hopefully your inbox. And we are going to be talking about what brings our soul into alignment, what brings us empowerment, and what allows us to express ourselves in the most authentic way possible, while delving into the depths of shadow work and spirit and everything in between, so that we can hopefully inspire each other, because this is a journey we're on as well.
Absolutely.
We just want to know, what is it that we really think about these big topics? And we hope to bring these big topics to you so that you also get inspired to think about them and live a better, more aligned life. So in this episode, since this is our first episode, we are going to talk about our origin story and how we met each other and why you should listen to us. Because, you all will want to know why the heck you should listen to these three women on this podcast called Soul Signals. So I'm going to start. As I mentioned, I'm an evidential medium, or an evidential psychic medium. I've been doing this work for, over 12 years now, I think.
But really, isn't your whole life you've been doing this?
Kind of.
Okay. Just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't happen one day.
Yeah. I would say.
But it could.
It could. Yeah. We'll definitely talk about that at some point. I think for me, I probably, number one, everybody is intuitive. And I've always been sensitive. When I was young, people would often say, "You're too sensitive," which happens to a lot of us that are more in tune with energy and spirit. I didn't start paying attention to or focusing on it until I was in my 30s. And I had these cool experience. It was kind of weird, not necessarily cool at the time, but cool at the time. I love this part of my origin story. So when I say I was watching Long Island Medium with Teresa Caputo.
Teresa.
I love her.
I love her.
Yeah, I've evolved in my love of her over the years, but I definitely was super impressed with what she was doing. And the first thing I thought when I saw her online, well, it wasn't online, it was on TLC. I think she was on TLC. So it was back in the day when we only watched things on TV. We just didn't stream stuff. I remember thinking, I want to do that. Like, my soul was just, that is something I want to do. I would cry at almost every single episode. And it just was something that I really wanted to do. And I happened to be friends with somebody who was friends with a psychic medium. And I knew that. And I just started on my journey of learning and developing. And I'm also an executive assistant at a very large tech company, which I imagine at some point y'all can figure out which tech company that is, but I'm going to keep mum for now. So my life is very set in seemingly a binary of a very logical, linear space. I deal with executives on a daily basis. I am technically what you would consider in a C-suite executive office. And then I live a very heart-centered life, talking to dead people and connecting people to their loved ones who've crossed over. So it's a very interesting and unique space that it feels like a binary, but it's something that I've weaved together in a way that I'm really finding to be very fulfilling, and hopefully will continue to grow in that way. So I'd love to ask Callie, introduce yourself to the good people.
Hi, good people.
And let them know, like, what you what you're all about.
Who I am.
Who you
Who
are.
I am. I'm Callie. I'm a wedding and event planner in the Seattle area. It's funny that you said that about the Long Island Medium, how like you just knew that you wanted to and you would like cry and like you were so invested in each of those episodes, because I feel like that is 100%. Like I used to be one of those people, I'm like, any wedding, I'm like, oh my God, I love it. I love it. I mean, to be honest, I still cry every time Jim and Pam get married on The Office, and any rerun, I'm like, that's the best part. I still love it. So, but like I think there's like that piece. I know. I'm like, yeah, it's so cute.
It is, I'll tell a different story in a second, but I was thinking about the things that make us cry. And it really is, that's the moment your soul actually steps in.
Yeah.
Right? It's the moment that your soul's like this, it's that the kismet that we run into.
Yeah. And if you can recognize that and what makes that emotion and where that pulls naturally, as I feel like that's where you should be drawn to. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm like, look at that look at that little drop of wisdom right in the bat.
That's exactly
right off the bat. But yeah, that's kind of how I started in my wedding and event planning career. And I'd always helped everybody. When everybody was in their 20s, everyone's like, I'm getting married. I'm like, great, I'll totally help you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I should get paid for this. And then I got paid for it. And then I made it a career. And then that was it. So.
And what about now that you're kind of evolving a little bit?
Yeah.
What is it about spirituality that has you interested in being on this podcast?
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of my journey has always been law of attraction. So I've had a law of attraction coach since 2008 is when I very first started listening and working with Jeanette Ma over at Good Vibe Coach. Like, she's amazing and has been, I mean, The Secret came out in, I think, 2005, and then perpetually just started like listening to practitioners of the craft and of, I don't know, call it a craft, but like a practice essentially.
I think it's a craft. Yeah, for sure.
And then I just started learning, and how she taught it, Jeanette, always resonated with me the most. Mm-hmm. And so I'd always kind of like leaned into that. And her whole thing was feel now how you would feel then. So I built my whole company based on feel now how you'd feel then. I didn't do any like legitimate marketing. Like I was like, I just want to be a wedding planner. And then I had a gal, she was like, hey, we're having a wedding showcase. Do you want to be a part of it? I'm like, yeah, sure do. And then I was like, she's like, oh, we need your business license and insurance. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, all right, that was the next. And I was like, okay, I guess I got to get a business license. I guess I got to pay for insurance. And then I was like, well, I should probably have a website. I should probably do these. Again, very like not plan. It was like, I'm going to do this. And there was no whole plan. It just was like, I'm going to do it. And then everything just started falling into place. And then it was always that same practice daily of like, feel now how you'd feel then. And then after, I would say about 6 years, it was a full-time gig. It was full-time. And now it's been my career. So I've always used law of attraction in any part of like, and I guess that goes into like client work or vendors and everything. And her whole thing is like, there's no good and there's no bad. It's either what you align with and what feels good to your soul, what feels good internally, all of those things, and what doesn't resonate. And being able to say, okay, this doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that's not for me. And then being able to like essentially like remove it.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think that's a practice too.
100%.
Because a lot of times I think we're like, well, we should. It's like we get into the shoulds. Okay, because it worked for you. Okay, great. That worked for you. That doesn't mean that's going to work for all of us. So building my company and building my spiritual practice has always just been, how does it feel? Does it align? Great. Move forward.
Yep.
If it doesn't align, release it. And then
I love that. And I think that is really what I want to embody in my own life more often, because I think I'm also a student of law of attraction. I started following Esther Hicks Abraham Hicks a while back. And I do believe that in order to get what you want in life, you have to become the person that already has that.
100%.
Right. And so we'll definitely be talking about that on the podcast and really kind of delving into that. So I really love that. And that you have all of these examples of how well that's worked out, which I love. Michele. Why don't you? We're just gonna go straight over to you. I'm curious for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your own spiritual journey and what brought you here to this podcast.
Well, I was just listening to the two of you talk about your origin story, and I mean, an origin story can go
so many different ways depending
100%.
on how you want to tell it. And, you know, a couple things popped into my head as soon after I was processing what you guys were saying. One thing is I'm a reformed best daughter. I am somebody whose whole life has always been based on live the life you imagined. And I wasn't living the life I imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel right. You know, I was stuck in a world of doing the right thing, making mom and dad proud, doing whatever the plan was from when I was 14 years old up and through adulthood. And just one day I said, yeah, fuck it. I'm not doing this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And sold everything and took an opportunity. And we talked about crying.
Mm.
I remember the day very specifically. I'm in my car. I'd just gotten home from this amazing trip to Italy and Turkey. And I'd had all these encounters with all of these people, these expats living abroad, and the work they were doing, whether it's an NGO work or working in the military or doing something. They were all Americans living abroad and living this like this life of curiosity and experience, and knowing that that's what I needed. But anyways, in my car, 2 days after I had been on this amazing trip, I remember the rain was pounding on my whatchamacallit, the sunroof. And I just looked up and I said, God, I cannot do this anymore, and started crying. I need this shift. I need a change. I need to live a different life. 15 minutes later, I walked into my house, my phone dinged. I looked at the message, and it was one of my dear friends and her husband who live in Mexico. And the message just said, hey, we're starting a new business. Come work for us, but you have to move to Mexico. It took me 30 seconds. My response was, yes. They responded immediately, great. Can you be here in 30 days? I said, how about 60? And so that's when it started. And that was my path. Spirituality had always been a part of me, but that's when I really learned to start to trust spirit and to allow things to move through me and to let doors open and to understand how presence meant to me. And how to break free of what society was always telling me to do. Like, I guess I'm kind of a rule breaker now. I was never comfortable always in those rules. I was always pushing the edge, like always the do-gooder, but always pushing the envelope on what was right. And I've carried that now through my life over the last 15 years. And here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that to kind of sum that up a little bit is for the three of us, you are really the adventurer, the person who takes the risks, the person who follows her heart and leaps before we look kind of thing, and has landed in places that has provided you opportunity to grow. And it really is the faith of saying yes to those opportunities when you don't know where you're going to land.
Yeah. And I think, when I look at, you guys, how we all three physically met was as I allowed my curiosity to lead me to the place that we met.
Yeah.
We met at Melissa here, who is an amazing teacher, was teaching a class on intuition. And that was something I had felt that I had drifted from, and I needed to revisit on what it meant to be my own intuition as a human, as a woman, especially as a woman entering into a new phase of her life. I needed to get back in touch with that. And it was my curiosity that led me to the two of you in this class Melissa was teaching, and Callie was there, and look at us now.
Yeah. Yeah. This podcast came about as just an exercise in following spirit and moving into that direction and following our intuition, which I think is incredibly important. It breeds a much more rich and enlightening and joyful experience in life. And so that's something that we're all very passionate about, is bringing that to ourselves and each other and you all that are listening today too. And I will. So we did meet in a class, but Callie and I do know each other from high school. So
we go way back.
Yeah, we go way
back.
But we did lose touch with each other for a while, and so we reconnected through this work, right? Through my mediumship and everything. So that is a little bit about ourselves. And so why you should listen to us. We all have lived life in a way that has been driven by spirit, and we all have more to learn. Because even if we do a really good job of listening to spirit in one moment, that doesn't mean we're going to listen to spirit in every single moment. We lose touch of that.
Oh God, I wish we could.
I know.
I
My
know.
gosh.
Oh my God. It's crazy to me how
Mhm.
it just eludes us sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you sit back and you're like,
Oh,
wait a minute.
What did I do?
What the
Yeah.
fuck just happened? I don't
Yeah.
even recognize that decision I just made or that conversation I
Mhm.
just had, because you lose touch.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think, we say spirit and spirituality, we can't hold it all the time. That's
No.
impossible.
Yeah.
No.
And we have to give ourselves grace.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think something that Callie mentioned earlier, it's all a practice.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think that when we start on the intuitive path, paying attention to our intuition, it's going to be this. Once you tap into it, you're like, oh, I know what that voice sounds like. I'm going to
Mhm.
continue to listen to it. But that's not how it works. It is a practice.
Yeah.
It is
Mhm.
something that where we continually have to show up every day because we have society telling us not to pay attention to our intuition. I don't know how many times I've heard, leave your emotions at the door,
Yeah.
when it comes to work or anything.
Yeah.
It's impossible. We are emotional creatures. You cannot leave your emotions at the door. And emotion is where intuition lives.
Yes.
Mhm.
And we have been taught to disassociate from those feelings every day. So getting back to in touch with those emotions is a practice.
Mhm.
And we're not going to get it right.
No. And it's intentional practice. too.
Yes.
Like it's not even like, I'm like, you can't just go sit in a dark room and then just be like, this will work. I mean, it might. I don't know. It might for some people, but I mean, it's an intentional thing. Like, what is your intent? Everything goes where intention. How's that? Everything.
Energy
And it
flows
goes
where attention goes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's like intentional, like, and all of those things. It's like, and I'll be the first to be like, as soon as I get out of, my creative state or, my spiritual state, it definitely takes, like, I realize I'm like, oh, I'm so far away from myself too, which is interesting.
Well, and I think something that actually is a really good segue into the topic for today. Outside of the origin story, we want to talk about the cult of busy. I know.
Mhm.
Throw up in my mouth.
I know.
Sorry, not to be rude.
Gross, but totally.
I do think that here's what I find really interesting of this. I think a lot of people listening may have had the exact same reaction Michele had. But I also think that there's a lot of Instagram posts and stories and everything that of people saying you don't need to be super productive in order to feel accomplished. There's been this unwinding of that, at least that I've seen of people that I follow. But I think we don't believe it. We are in a culture that if you're not doing constantly, like the company that I work for, it's constantly. I remember somebody told me at the culture of the company I'm in, and I promise you this is the culture of many companies, it's what's great one year is just good the next year.
Oh, 100%.
Mhm.
And while that sounds like that could or should be inspiring to people to keep moving and keep growing, I found that exhausting.
It's like keeping up with the Joneses all the time.
All of the
Like, why
time.
can't you just enjoy the fruits of your labor?
That's right.
And sometimes I feel like it's like, okay,
Yeah.
great, you got your fruit, you accomplished this, great. Okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Like the expectation is there's always a next. Like, why is it not okay to just relish in what you've accomplished?
Well,
And
we've
sit into it.
instilled FOMO in us.
100%.
Like we all have fear of missing out on everything. Like if we're not part of that accomplishment, then we're missing something.
Yeah.
But are we really?
Yeah.
Well, it came from, remember, what was the gal from Facebook that did the Lean In book? Sheryl Sandberg or whatever.
Yeah, Sheryl Sandberg. Yeah.
I thought that was the most toxic thing that you could possibly do to somebody, that you have to be all the things for a mom. You have to do all of the things for your business. You have to be a CEO of this, that, or the other. And it puts so much expectations on people that if you aren't doing all the things, then you're nothing. I thought that was really toxic.
Yeah.
That being said, you could talk about we can create capacity for more things for ourselves, but that's not what we're talking about today in this podcast. I think there's something about borrowing somebody else's success and what that looks like that is not going to be good for you, because it's not always going to be aligned with your soul, like we talked about earlier. What are the things that are aligned with you?
Yeah.
Not every woman wants to be the CEO of Facebook and have 2 kids and make sure that their marriage is a business arrangement, because I'm pretty sure she really leaned in on that her marriage was a business arrangement, which marriages are business arrangements, to be fair. I mean, she wasn't completely wrong about that, but I do think
Partnership, I'd rather call it
a partnership.
like, I would say that's personally, I'm like, that word feels a little better than like business, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if she's going into that, but yeah, because
I think,
and I don't know the book, so honestly,
oh no, I
I'm
haven't.
like,
To be fair, I didn't read it.
okay, I'm like,
So
I should know about it.
No. I just listened to what the premise is all about. But I think that type of mindset, this cult of busy, where you constantly have to do, it strips the romanticism of life out.
Yeah,
It doesn't have room for it.
It
Because
takes away curiosity. It doesn't leave
Yeah.
you room to be creative.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think I have this amazing boss right now. Like, the VP I report to is amazing. Okay, I'm in corporate America now too. But anyways, the VP I report to is a very creative man. Like, he's an industrial designer, like, just incredible. And I'm a project manager, program manager. Like, I'm business oriented. I am a task driver. And I made a comment about my creativity. And he's like, "No, what are you talking about? You are one of the most creative people I know. How you see the world and how you can put things together and motivate people and create systems that create outcome is good." So that just hit me like in a way that took like this cult of busyness. Like, when I'm doing things of just sitting and thinking, like, I'm actually doing something that feeds my soul. That's not, that doesn't feel heavy. That feels happy. It's like something that I have booked out in my day that goes, oh, good, I get to do that. I get to just think, and I'm being creative, and I will be rewarded for that. And that's something that I don't know why I brought that up, but it felt important.
Well, because you were talking about the fact that the cult of busy, when I said it strips the romanticism of the life away, it also takes away your level of creativity, because I think we tend to think in black and white when it comes to busyness, right? That we feel like if we have super packed calendars and we're exhausted after a weekend of running hither and yon, you know, that we've got.
I like that word, hither and yon.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I said it right.
That's okay. I think
hither is right. I don't know if the yarn is right, but
sounds good.
It sounds good. That gives us this kind of thought that we've accomplished. If we're not exhausted at the end of a workday, we have or have not accomplished something. And I think, to your point, Michele, that the thinking and the allowing of this white space to be able to think and be creative is accomplishing.
Yeah.
Like, I constantly say sometimes we need to slow down in order to speed up. And that is really hard for people. People don't want to slow down and learn something new and create a better foundation. And when we're constantly busy, we're not attending to that foundation either, right? We're just creating what it is that we think other people want us to do. We're living somebody else's life.
Well,
like when I talked about borrowing
it's
somebody
being
else's
reactive
success
versus, proactive.
Right.
I mean, it's being in a state of reaction all the time, which is not good for our nervous system.
No.
I mean, like, when you're reacting to everybody's wants and needs instantly, like, your nervous system starts shutting down. Your cortisol goes up. You start gaining weight. You're not sleeping as well,
right?
Because you're not taking care, like you just said, your own foundation,
right?
And when you finally just say fuck it, you find yourself saying no a lot, and your busyness looks different. Like, my busyness now looks like, oh, look, I'm busy. I got to go to the gym. I have to meditate. It's all self-care to take care of myself.
Yeah.
But that's not bad. But I feel like but you get to a point, and that's like, I guess maybe a symptom of like burnout too. Like all of that, like you're
absolutely
100%. Like, even like, I was just thinking as you guys were talking, it's like COVID gave us all the ability to slow down.
It's like the big pause button, the big red pause button.
And I mean, even though we were all at our homes and we were doing those things, it was like, do you notice like how many people got so much more creative? Because like all of a sudden they were like
the sourdough explosion,
like all, these creative people by nature, like, you know, I watched everybody start a new podcast or a cool thing. And I'm like, had that not happened, because I feel like everybody's brain goes, okay, we have to slow down. And now all of a sudden our creativity and all the things that like bring us joy all started bursting out at the seams. And then what came out was very authentic. And people were like, again, drawn right to it because they were like, oh, cool. People are and they're not being pulled in 17 different directions. They were being pulled from like within, and everything that they wanted to like, that like, oh, the fun part, the easy part, like that just came up because that's all we had time for. And so like, I am like, thank God for it. I mean, but the other side of COVID, at least in my industry and a lot of others, it was like doors open. Okay. Hit the ground running. And now there it goes. Like all of our
doors closed.
Everything, all of that ability to just like take a beat and be in the moment was gone just as fast as it came in.
Yeah.
But it also was like, oh, I really liked it. And as a social person,
it pushed you to have to be more creative
100%.
in what you do.
Yeah. And like, I mean, for us, like we had a full season of weddings. We couldn't do an entire season of weddings. I had an entire summer where I did nothing but console brides and their families and reschedule everything. And it, you know, it was still work. But you know what? I went to the beach like 7 times. We would go get like our daily thing would be like, okay, there's a great baker down the street. She's making cinnamon rolls. Let's go support her. And then we would go get cinnamon rolls on Friday morning.
It also made me gain weight during COVID.
Oh, hundo P. Yeah. I'm like, but at the same time, like, but we were also being those creative. So I'm like wondering too, like that little bit gave us like a vision to see like not being so busy isn't that bad. It was like the contrast.
Yeah. And I think so to bring it to a real life example of something that I dealt with is creating this business that I'm creating this year. This is the year that I'm going all in on everything and doing the podcast and figuring out what I want to do for my mediumship because I've been terrible at marketing myself ahead of time. And I had, you know, sometimes our eyes are a little bit bigger than our stomachs, you know, and I tend to do that a lot. I do that when I want to bake treats. I do it when I put too much on my plate, and I did the same thing with my business. I was trying to do the podcast in multiple communities and launch everything in May and June and like all of this stuff. And I was starting to panic. I have to be, because I realized I signed myself up for 4 different jobs: podcaster, content creator, psychic medium, teacher, like all of these things. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I decided one day when I was really at my tip top of everything that I could do, I said, Melissa, these dates that you have for launching, these things that you're trying to do, you made that up. You don't have to do these things. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I've said I'm going to do something, I want to do it. So I moved everything out. I consolidated, I streamlined, and I continue to consolidate and streamline. And I chose to not allow that to take me out. I chose to not allow that to make me feel worse about myself. 5 years ago, I never would have been able to do that. And so I encourage everybody listening to really think about the things that you have on your plate and where you're putting some arbitrary date or arbitrary stress on yourself, and just take it away.
Well, I think you bring up a really interesting point because when we talk about busyness, I think there's a couple types of busyness.
Yeah.
There's like the busyness, like you're talking about, you put on yourself. Like that's a busyness. Like you set goals and then you realize, oh, like you just said, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. And then like, I'm thinking back to my past life where I was in my family business. I was community facing. Like I was out seeing clients and customers all the time. I was in the Rotary Club. I was on a board of directors here, board of directors there. I had this networking event to go to, had all of these things. Like every night was packed after work. And the social consequences when I started saying, nope, no, I resign. No, 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 and no. Let me say one more time. No. That was a whole nother experience in the reaction from the community, from all those different containers that I was in, their pushback to me. And that was a whole nother thing to deal with, to step out of the cult of busy like that. It was hard to leave the cult. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a cult for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of shame. There was a lot of, you're letting us down. And I was just like, no, not letting you down, taking care of myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is something we don't talk about, is how to exit the cult of busyness, because that is a strategic plan. Like, you have to be mentally ready, you have to have support, you need to have that safe place to go, or there's safe people to go to hold you when you feel all the stress from all the people who are so used to you showing up with your halo on and your bells and your whistles and all the cool things that you do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there to unpack in
Yeah,
terms of like
for sure.
how to do that. And I think to give people some clear steps, especially for people who don't have the support and
Yeah.
know that they don't have the confidence to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I
Yeah.
think one of the examples that's probably the most hard example to walk away from is family obligations
Oh,
and
God.
saying no to family, because that's going to be the one that you have to step into with the most amount of confidence.
Good point. Yeah.
And the thing that I would encourage people is always come back to your why. Why do you need to pull back? And you don't have to give anybody a justification as to why you hold back. One of the greatest gifts I was given when I started at the company I'm at, and I applied it to my personal life, is I was talking to somebody and I had to say no to something. So I was asking her advice. And she said, Melissa, you never have to justify your no. Just say no. And I started doing that. Nobody pushed back and said, well, why? Why can't you? Nobody ever did. Not one person. And so the people that I know require or need a reason, I would give them one.
Yeah.
I had to do two things. I had to be comfortable saying no and give no other response. And that's easier at work when you're like, nope, I can't do that. And nobody says anything. Oh, Melissa, are you going to go to this happy hour after work? When I super don't want to hang out with my people at work. And I just say, no, I'm not able to. You just say, I'm not able to. You don't have to tell them why.
Yeah.
And that is so empowering. So that's number one. Practice that. Practice saying no to people you don't care about and people who aren't going to ask for your why, because your family's 100% going to ask for your why because they're used to you giving them an excuse. And I realized that when I was having to say no to people, I would be like, okay, what's the best excuse as to why I need to say no to this? And I recognized that ends up being dishonest.
Yeah.
Right?
Usually, yeah.
And when you're dishonest, they can push on you and you are always going to crumble. So you have to come up with the honest reason. And sometimes the honest reason is, I'm too tired. And people aren't going to push back on you. You think they are, but they're not going to, right? So I really encourage people to, if you're in a place where you really need to start saying no because you are a chronic people pleaser, which
hey, woohoo!
Yeah, we're all chronic people pleasers, so we know exactly what this is like. Say no in a way that for people at work or maybe friends that you really trust, that you know aren't going to walk away from you if you say no. Practice with them first. And you can even tell your friend, be like, hey, you're going to ask me to go out. I'm going to tell you no because I don't want to. Just know that I need to practice that and I need you to support me. Your best friend is going to be like, finally. I promise you, your best friend has been waiting for you to advocate for yourself the whole relationship.
Absolutely.
I promise you that. And if they haven't, they are not your best friend.
This is true.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I think for me, that is a good thing to end on for the episode. If anybody has any questions about what the cult of busy looks like or how we've learned to deal with any type of situation, we would love to see any comments that you have when wherever it is that you are listening to this, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Put a comment underneath and we would love to interact with you all to talk about this, because I think this is a really important conversation to have in general, and we would love to help you. I mean, I know that I've been through a lot of breaking up with the cult of busy, and I continue to work on it as I just mentioned. So thank you all so much for joining us today. We so loved having you here with us, and I cannot wait to see what it is that we're going to grow moving forward. And thank you to Callie and Michele for being here. I'm so excited to see where we're going.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the signal for today. If it landed, subscribe and share to keep the frequency high. Vision, vibration, voice.